Greetings all. Tonight we're going after two separate targets. We're going after a hydrogen 2 emission nebula out in the constellation of Gemini called IC 2162. We're also going after a supernova remnant. A star that exploded into a supernova is called the Vela Supernova out in the constellation of Vela, or the cells. Now, the reason we're going after two targets is we have the entire night of clear weather. So from sunset all the way through the night until sunrise, it's going to be clear. Now, the Vela Supernova Remnant, which I want to photograph, just barely shows up on the south horizon. In fact, a lot of the documentation says it's viewable from the southern hemisphere. I'm not in the southern hemisphere, but if I look right down above the top of the trees, I can still see it in the south. But it's only up for about 2 hours right in the middle of the night. Well, I don't want to waste all the other night, so we're going to sandwich the Vela Supernova on each end with IC 2162. The Vela Supernova Remnant is about 800 light years away from Earth, and it actually exploded. The star that caused it exploded about 11,000 years ago. So it's done spread out and got real big. Now, it's also overlapped with a couple of other supernova remnants out there, so they're all kind of mixed and mashed. Now, this supernova has expanded out too far for me to get the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be zoomed up into this supernova remnant, and I'm just going to get the part that to me is the brightest and most interesting, and the part that I can see above the top of my trees. Anyhow, that's the program for tonight. IC 2162, the Vela Supernova Remnant. Okay, here we set, getting ready to go on IC 2162 and also on the Vela Supernova Remnant. We're going to do both of those in the same night. Let me show you the Vela Supernova Remnant. It's going to come up down here to the south. I'm going to fast forward to about 11:30. All right, so let me show you the Vela Supernova Remnant. It's going to come up over here in the south-southwest or south-southeast. It's not going to get very high. It's going to make an arc like this, and the highest it ever is going to get is about 17 degrees high. It's going to do just like this, so we can barely see it. Now, my tree line back in the south is low, so that's the only reason I can see it out here. But it's going to do this. It's just going to be up a couple of hours. So, and it is going to be down in the horizon haze, so there will be a little bit of challenge on that. But you know what? We don't shy away from the challenge. Let me show you what that looks like. There it is. Right there. So you see it comes up here. It's just going to arc around, go back down over here. Now this one you can see a picture of, kind of. Well, no, it's not. Well, here it is up here. This is where we're going to be centered up here on all these filaments and stuff. And actually right about here is how we're going to be centered. So you can see that's a pretty diffuse supernova remnant, but there's the Vela nebula that we'll be going after right in the middle of the night. So that's our plan for the evening, and then once this is gone, of course, then we're going to go back to IC 2162 to finish up. So, all right, we're going to go right over here to Compeller. We're going to do a focus, synchronize the mount, and then from there, the IC 2162 over here is going to be popping out. And I'm getting a phone call. Hold on a second. Spam. Can you believe that? Spam. Okay. what was I saying? The IC2162 is going to be popping out. So after we do our focus mount synchronization on Capella, we'll zoom right on over here. Now, like I said, this is the first time I've shot this target, but we will be using the same rotation of 230, which is what we're going to use on the Vela Supernova Remnant. Now, my camera is not currently set at 230, so when we get over here to Capella and do our focus and mount synchronization, we'll rotate the camera there and do the auto guide calibration, so that when we get on over to our target, the camera will already be set, the auto guiding will already be calibrated, and we'll be ready to go. So let's make that happen. So from here, now I should say I've already polar aligned the mount. It's sitting there ready to go. So we need to get on Capella now. The way we're going to do that, I'll click up Capella, and I'm going to go to N.I.N.A, which is my software manager here. Go to the framing tab, and I'm going to click this little button here, and what it's going to do is going to pull in the coordinates for whatever I have selected in Stellarium, in this case Capella. So let's pull that in. Now, it's already pulled in Capella's coordinates, but what it's doing is searching this database up here, and it's going to use my internet connection down here to pull in the NASA Sky Survey picture of Capella. It's not going to be much to look at. Now, sometimes if you don't have an internet connection, which sometimes I don't, that's okay. It still pull in the coordinates even without an internet connection. But what you may have to do sometimes is just manually type these into your sequence tab over here, because it doesn't always auto import to your sequence tab if you don't have an internet connection. So, but we had one tonight, and it pulled in Vela. There it is right there. Capella is dead centered. So now we're on Capella. So let's go and get on live view. There we go, live view. And now I'm going to go put the Batinov mask on. So we're looking at a live feed of Capella right now. So I'll put the Batinov mask on. We'll get focused on Capella. All right, Batinov mask is on. Let's zoom in here. It's still focused from 2 nights ago. That's okay. For those of you who don't know what a Batinov mask does, it puts this X here across the stars, and then this line in the middle shows you your focus. If you perfectly exactly split that X, then you're focused. We are perfectly focused already, so I don't need to do anything to this. So that was easy. I guess everybody deserves a break every now and then. So now I'm going to go take the Batinov mask off. Actually, before we do that, let's rotate the camera and calibrate our auto guider. All right, here we go. Plates off, seated. We get on 230.5. Not quite enough. One more time. 230.5. All right, 0.05 of a degree from where I want to be, so that's about as close as I'm going to get. So I'm going to call this good. So the camera is rotated. Now we can go ahead and calibrate our auto guider. Okay, auto guiding is calibrated, the guiding is going, so we're ready to get on over to target. So I'm going to turn the auto guider off right now, and I'll show you how we're going to get over to target. So remember now, this is Capella. We don't want to go to Capella anymore. We're done with Capella. So let's load the target set that we built for IC2162 in the Vela Nebula. And here it is. So here's IC2162 we're going to start with. Here is the Vela Nebula we're going to do in the middle. And then again back to IC2162 when Vela is done. So we are ready to get going. Okay, we just finished taking the last 03 frame on the IC2162. So our program is now ready to get on over to the Vela Supernova. I think that it just cleared my trees in the southeast. If it is in fact cleared my trees, this is going to work. The mount is already synchronized. The guiding is already calibrated. We're already focused. So all it has to do is swing over to the Vela and get going. And I don't want to waste any time on that because we have a very short window to film this target. So I'll click the start button and the telescope should swing over to the Vela Supernova. Now there's a chance that it still hasn't cleared the tree. And if that's the case, then you'll see the plate solve is going to fail out. And we'll get some red boxes and we'll see a tree in the plate solve picture. But I think it's clear the trees. I hope it is. And so we're going to go ahead and get that going right now. All right, you see my telescope right now. It's still pointed up towards your Orion, filming the IC 2162. It's just about to change, and the Vela Supernova sits right out yonder. It either has just barely cleared that tall tree sticking up right there, or it's still behind it. I'm hoping that it's clear of the tree, and when the telescope switches and tries to point at Vela, it's going to be clear of that tree. So let's see, is it clear of the trees, or does the telescope point into the tree? All right, so here we go over to the Vela Supernova Remnant. And there goes the telescope. Yeah, so it's going in the right direction. It just went all the way around to get to it. So it's pointing pretty low though. I think we might still be in the trees. We'll know here in a second. All right, it thinks it's pointed at the Vela Supernova. It's switching to the luminance filter, taking the 2-second plate solve image. Now here's the plate solve up, and we are in the trees. You see that? Those dark shadows are trees, and you see that plate solving failed out. So we're still in the trees. So I'll cancel all this out, but what I'm going to do, we're not very much in the trees, so I'm just going to let it run here for a few minutes, and then when I think that it's clear of the trees, then we'll give it another shot. So I'll be right back with you when I think that the Vela is up out of the trees. Okay, so plate solving worked. So the Vela Supernova just cleared the tree. Okay, it got centered up where we told it to. Did the plate solve, is changing the filters, and now it is off and running on the Vela Supernova Remnant. And I believe I may see a shadow of a tree right down here. Not to worry though, it's all good. Okay, here's where it landed, and you can see that it is just barely above that tree out yonder. In fact, I think I showed you that I think I could see just the top of that tree in the edge of the picture. So you see where they're looking right through the scope right here. So we just barely cleared that tree, which is good because we have a very short window to capture the Vela Supernova. So the fact that we got on it as soon as it cleared the tree means we'll maximize our time and get a better picture. So I'm happy about this. I think we're going to get about 2 hours on this object tonight, and it's just going to skirt along the top of these trees. Never going to get very high, just skirt along the top of the trees, and then it's going to go back in the trees right over there. So you see here it's moved on to the second of our program. So it's on the Vela Supernova now. You see here we're about 46 seconds into the first 10-minute HA exposure. So we'll know here in about 8.5 minutes whether we're in the right spot and whether we're going to get anything. Okay, we just got onto the Vela Supernova. You can see it right here. If you come over and take a look, it's just 16 degrees above the horizon now. It just cleared my tree. I showed you that on the camera. It just cleared the tree. And here's how we're framed up on it. We should get our first picture here in about a minute. Real quick, let me show you how it's going to move. From where it's at right now, watch how it's going to just arc around the south. It's never going to get very high. Just going to kind of skirt along the horizon there until it goes back down below my trees about right there. So that's going to be tonight's program on the Vela Supernova Remnant. So back to current time. Let's take a peek. We got another minute before our first HA image comes in. The first 10-minute HA image on the Vela Supernova. So I'll be back with you here in about 40 seconds when it comes in. While we're waiting, here is the last HA image that we took on IC 2162. And anyhow, we just got over there, and here is our first 10-minute picture on the Vela Nebula. Look at that. Look at that. How about that? You see the nebulosity, the veins are running all through there. There it is, just like we were hoping. So there it is, the first 10-minute HA on the Vela Supernova Remnant. And it looks like the framing is pretty good. It's going to be really hard to match what we're seeing here with Stellarium. But the fact that the supernova fills the entire frame says to me that this is about where we wanted it to be. We're doing 2 HAs, and then here's the second line of the program. Will be 2 O3s, and we're just alternating 2 and 2 to try and keep that exposure even, because I'm not going to get very much of it. So I want to keep the exposure even, so because when it's done, we got what we got. Stars around. The auto guiding is pretty good. It's especially good for being right down in that horizon haze, just skirting along the edge of the tree. So I'm happy with all this. This stuff seems to be going pretty good. I think we're going to end up getting a pretty good picture here of the Vela Supernova. But we'll see what a O3 frame with the oxygen looks like here in about 7 minutes. All right, here's our first O3 image of the night. It came in just a minute ago. I'm not seeing nearly about as much signal as I was with the HA. I guess not that big of a surprise. You can see a lot down here. You see the stars are still round, so that's all good. Yeah, not as much as there was HA, but there is some nebulosity here. So when we stack these and pull this data out, it's definitely going to contribute to the image. So I'm optimistic now after having seen these first few subs. I'm optimistic about what this picture is going to look like. So I'm going to let it run. All right, I'm going to see if I can show you exactly where the Vela Supernova sits. Looking right out there, you can see 3 stars that kind of make a triangle. The wide leg is up at the top, and then you see that bottom star that's just to the left of the tree is the bottom of the triangle. Well, so those 3 stars that make the triangle, if you go right in the dead center of that triangle, right in the middle of those 3 stars, that is the Vela Supernova Remnant. Right there. You can see right here, it's right where the telescope is looking. Right there. And that is the highest that this object ever gets. All right, here's our next O3. 1 second, let's watch it come in. Next O3, there it is. How about that? It looks pretty much just like that other one, except it's obviously bottom side upwards because it just did a meridian flip. So we've got, let's see, 2, 3, 4. We've got another 40 minutes left on this imaging plan. and I may get to add a couple of more images on here. We may get a little more than what I thought. It's definitely on the way out, but we may get a little more than 40 minutes, so keep an eye on that. Okay, let's see where we are on our imaging plan. Well, we're on the last frame now, so we almost made it through our imaging plan, but you heard that awful noise. That's because the guide camera is looking at a tree now. So the telescope just went down into the trees. That's what you're seeing over here. These shadows in the guide camera looking through the tree. So if we go back to our imaging plan, this one right here that it's taken is going to be no good. But we got all the rest of them. We got a couple of good hours on the Vela Supernova.